Hey YouTube, this is NWA Prepper coming at you tonight from my porch. Just kind of relaxing. We've got a full moon out and got some lanterns out. Just enjoying the day. Kind of relaxing and thinking about my day and my job and normal things. But it seems to always come back to prepping, to preparedness, on whether or not I'm doing the right thing, whether or not I'm doing enough, whether I'm doing too much. It comes down to why. Why am I a prepper? And that's kind of the point of this video is why I decided to learn and to go to school and to go after all the education that I've done and all the experience that I've tried to put myself through to be someone who can talk to you on video and someone that people can come to and can trust, to know a little bit. I'm not an expert. There's way smarter, way better, way more experienced, just way everything people in the preparedness movement that are out there. They're people that their whole lives they don't live here where I do. I live in the country, but before this video is over, you're going to hear an airplane. If you listen carefully, you may hear the interstate. Those are two of the major reasons that I have a bug out location, that I have a bug out community, a bug out group. So I know I need to leave here when things get bad. And before all that, before we get into that, is what made me want to be into preparedness. Now, I've been a Boy Scout my whole life, and so I've done that. And I've been through the ranks, and I've been to survival schools and survival camps, and I've done Civil Air Patrol and search and rescue and survival classes in the middle of winter, and bushcraft skills in the summer and spring. And I've got all these little tidbits that come together, which were fun. That I enjoyed them. I enjoyed being a FEMA volunteer. I enjoyed learning the things that you learn when you're a shelter manager and in damage assessment and all these classes that you have to take for disaster management, disaster preparedness on a community level. Well, several years ago, my community was hit with a significant ice storm. An ice storm so bad that our hospitals were out without power and utilities. Our neighborhoods were, my home for 17 days didn't have electricity. I was very blessed that we had gas heat, so I still had heat, but I didn't have a blower. I didn't have a generator or any way to move that heat. And so I was blessed with a way to cook, though I couldn't keep my stuff cold. Wasn't a big deal. The house was 30 degrees, 20 degrees. But I had to send my family away. I sent them to my in-laws' house several miles away to a different part of our community that had electricity. And I couldn't believe it. I've got all this camping gear. I've got all this experience and all these things that make me feel fine, outside and making do with pine cone fires to cook with and ramen noodle and things like that. But I hadn't prepared my family. I had to send them away. You can't imagine how terrible that is to think that you're ready. I'm prepared for anything. I'm a Boy Scout. I'm a firefighter. I'm an EMT. I'm all this stuff that's trained and prepared. But I wasn't. I didn't have gas for my chainsaw. About halfway through that, things started to change. We got blessed with a great deal on a generator that was ready to go, and the accessories to go with it. And in 4 days before power came back on, I had a generator. I had fuel cans from the neighborhood. I had cords running from my house to a neighbor's house to a neighbor's house, providing electricity for our blowers and our freezers and that kind of thing. And it felt great. It felt like I could take on the entire world. And then I got to thinking afterwards, well, wow, it sure would have been nice had I had an extra gas bottle for the grill outside. I could have grilled some meat and things outside and not had to worry about improper ventilation in the house. Or wouldn't it have been great if I could have had a couple kerosene heaters, or if my fireplace that's in my home had been inspected and a big crack repaired so that I could have had a fire in my house as well for my family. What if I had light? I didn't have lanterns. I had one battery-powered camping lantern. What if I had everything that my family needed to stay home with me? To stay home where we belong as a family. Our community was in such bad shape that the National Guard was delivering pallets of bottled water and MREs. And I would go to the work at the hospital where I was working. And we'd mitigate things all day long and come up with where's our next boatload of diesel coming from for the generator and laundry and all these problems. And then I'd come home because I've been very blessed that I'm an okay driver in the snow and the ice. I'm nice and slow. My vehicle's usually relatively prepared, and so I could get to and from work. It just took a long time. Well, then I'd go to the fire station and I'd work cutting limbs and taking supplies to people who were as bad off as me, and even worse. They didn't have a way to leave. They couldn't take their family anywhere. They were stuck where they were with no way to provide for their family. And I felt more like a hero when I could take someone 2 cases of MREs and 4 cases of water for their family of 7 kids. I felt more like a hero then than I have doing anything else in my career as a firefighter. It's hard to imagine. I've been very blessed to help a lot of people. But it was different. You know, in a car fire, or a house fire, or a car wreck, those things are so sudden, so, oh no, there's nothing you can do to prepare for those other than safety measures. But when you know an ice storm is coming across the country and you choose to stay where you are and not have the supplies that you need, I didn't have the supplies that I need. When you choose to do that, you're endangering your family. Never again, I vowed. So I started putting some things back and buying a couple extra cans of ravioli and some spaghetti sauce and things like that. And then about, I don't know, a year or 2, maybe 3 later, I lost my job. And I was unemployed for a year and a half. There was always groceries. There was always food. There was always a treat or a little bonus toy that I had squirreled away. So my kiddos, as little kids, I felt that they never noticed that there wasn't a paycheck coming in, that we were struggling, but yet at the end of the week they still got a new toy, or there was still a can of their favorite vegetable, or there was always spaghetti and spaghetti sauce. It just kept coming. Where did it come from? We always had toilet paper. We always had some of the basic things that you need. We had. And that was a blessing, because then my wife, who had thought I was just crazy, came a little bit more on board then, and it was like, okay, this prepping thing's not a bad idea. It helps us a little bit. So we went from there, and then I got a shelf, and I put some organization to it, and I thought, okay, I'm going to have everything that my family needs in this house for 30 days. except for water. We limit that, but we live very, very, very close to a supply, and we have filtering and purification systems in place with redundancy. So I know I could always do better, but that's all right. So we did that, and then slowly I started learning more. I started reading everything I could read. I started watching YouTube. Southern Prepper 1, Patriot Nurse, Skinny Medic, Engineer 775, the Modern Survivalist, the Main Prepper. Everything they put out, I started watching and reading the comments and going through there and joining blogs and going to the library and going to classes. Sigma 3 Survival School, 2 thumbs up. They're awesome. All these things that I had in my lap. I mean, Sigma 3 is one of the top two or three survival schools in the country, and they're just down the street. I had all this stuff, and so I started learning and practicing, and then I started going to disasters and going to things to help mitigate and to see what the problems were, see what every family needed. And duct tape, bottled water, duct tape, twine. Those are the type of things that you never pay attention to. You go to a homeless camp, which in my area there's several, and the things that they ask for. Oh, fire department pager, excuse me. The things that they ask for are not big things. They're not asking for $1,500 tents and camper shells and tires. They're asking for string and socks. Other side of the county. And they're asking for little things. Candles, glow sticks. Things that don't cost a lot, that are easy to come by. So I got to thinking, and I got to watch them. Who better to learn survival from than people who are surviving every day? And then I put it with all that I've been learning, and by then I'd done a couple seminars on everyday carry and bug out bags and basic preparedness. Well, listen to my neighbor's new motorcycle as he comes by. At least it's not as late as it looks. So on basic survival, man, I love the suburbs. Then it was on to survival weekends and living out of my bug out bag, and how far could I hike in a reasonable amount of time? What plants can you eat? How can I teach it to younger folks, to scouts? Then I got asked to speak at a preparedness fair and a couple preparedness expos, and as you do that, anytime you go to speak, you super prepare. So I've read, everything I can, and I get out and I practice, and it's no fun to say, this is how you start a fire. If you've never started a fire that way, you don't really know. You can know the steps, but until you touch it, until you feel it, you're never going to get it to work. You have to fail 10 times before you will be good at it. And that's how all preparedness is. Yes, there are plenty of lessons out there from others, but we always seem to learn from ourselves. How to store things properly, how you don't. And now I'm to the point where I need to share. I need you to be prepared for what's going on in the world. 3 hours from my house, someone was beheaded, off with her head, because of different religious beliefs. Now we have this pandemic, a dual pandemic, hitting our country. You've got to be prepared. Even if you are only the 140 people that are subscribers to my channel, if you're the only ones that listen, go to the store, take your extra dollar, don't buy a soda pop, and go buy 2 more cans of green beans, or go buy 2 more cans of tuna, or do something to prepare yourself, to prepare your family, because just the medical issues alone, you may need to be in your home 2 or 3 weeks or more. But 2 or 3 weeks for this to go through your community, for this, the flu, the crazy flu to go through, or heaven forbid the Ebola hit your community. But they're going to happen. Whether you believe that there's nature's course, or you believe that they're planted or put there or caused, or however you feel about that is irrelevant. What matters is that you are prepared. Now, if you know someone that is not prepared, you need to tell them. You need to say, hey, you got any extra water? You got any extra food in there? And use I always refer to the government's ready.gov. It's written in a way that none of us would write it. It's descriptive in ways that we wouldn't describe it. But it's a great start. And it is a way that you can say, this is 3 days. I need you to be ready for 3 days. And then they'll find out that it's easy. And maybe they'll be prepared for 7 days. And then you guys will come back together and they'll go, wow, that was really easy. Or it wasn't as expensive as I thought. And they'll step it up again. And you step it up. You be prepared. You be ready. Have your food at your home. Have your water in your home. Have your filtering. Have your environmental protection, your gloves, medical gloves, have your masks, N95 masks, have gowns, have pooties, whatever you think you need ready, because it's here. It's not a very exciting video, but it was time to share a little bit on my heart with you. I ask that you, if you've got questions, ask down below. If I don't know the answers, I'll find them for you. I'll help you be ready. Because through my small voice, 142 people, I think, or 146, that will get this message. That's 146, possibly families, that may be a little bit more prepared than you would be before. I appreciate your time and your comments. That you subscribe warms my heart. I'll be stepping up a little bit with the videos. I've had some crazy going on. But for right now, this is NWU Prepper saying, get ready. It's coming. Thanks for your time.